It's another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily, episode 210, and I'm Dr. Neil, your host of the show. Welcome back to another special Friday edition of Optimal Health Daily, and happy Cinco de Mayo for those of us living in the United States. This is where I answer your questions. Now, every other weekday, I read health and fitness blogs to you like an audiobook, but on Fridays, I answer your questions. This is one of my favorite parts of the show. I want this space to be for you, where you can listen and basically assume that I'm going to tell you the truth. I want you to send me questions about myths you may have heard about fitness or nutrition or stress management or sleep like we talked about this week. And just know that I will respond to the best of my ability with the truth. And when I'm not here recording this show for you, I'm the chair of the Department of Nutrition and Basic Sciences at Bastyr University, California. I'm also faculty at 2 other colleges, and I've published research on obesity and type 2 diabetes as it relates to diet. Now, if you want to send in your own question, just listen through to the end of the episode and I'll let you know how to do that. Now, this past week, we were talking about sleep, and I've gotten to the habit now of taking a 15 to 20 minute nap most afternoons when it doesn't disrupt my work, of course. So my wife has now started calling me a cat because she thinks I snooze a lot. I actually don't mind it. I think it's kind of cute. All right, let's jump into today's question and start optimizing your life.
Hi, Dr. Neil. My question relates to fats in the diet. I've been a pescatarian for the last 6 years and recently have started to try to limit my carbohydrate intake and my intake of processed foods. I've found that since I've done that, my percentage of calories per day from fat has gone up to 30 to 40%. And while it's mostly healthy fats, I do know that that percentage is 10 to 20% higher than what the American Health Guidelines suggest. I was wondering if those guidelines really just relate to quote-unquote bad fats, or if it's related to all fats. And then if it is related to all fats, how I might limit my fat intake moving forwards, given that I am on a pescatarian diet. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Courtney. With all of this back and forth between doctors, researchers, dietitians, and nutritionists, it's becoming increasingly difficult to know what we should be eating each day, especially when it comes to fat. Now, there are different forms of vegetarianism. The word vegetarian means you do not consume any animal flesh specifically. But there are some that do eat animal flesh, but are specific about which animals they consume. For example, if someone is a lacto-ovo vegetarian, they consume lactose, think milk, and ovo, eggs. So a lacto-ovo vegetarian eats mostly plant-based foods with the exception of milk and anything made from milk like cheese and butter and ice cream, and eggs. Courtney, you identify as a pescatarian. This means you mostly consume plant-based foods, but with the exception of fish. So you do consume fish. And pesca or pesce basically means fish, and that's where the term pesca or pescatarian comes from. You had asked about the fat recommendation specifically. Many health professionals refer to a specific recommendation when trying to determine how much fat, carbs, and protein most healthy adults should consume each day. This recommendation is called the Acceptable Macronutrient Distribution Range, abbreviated AMDR. Fats, carbs, and proteins are considered macronutrients. So the AMDR outlines the acceptable range for each of these macros. So here's what the AMDR says. We should consume anywhere from 45 to 65% of our calories each day from carbohydrate, 10 to 35% of our calories each day from protein, and 20 to 35% of our calories each day from fat. If you want to know what percentage of each macronutrient you are consuming, it requires you to keep some good food records, and then you have to do some math. There are apps that will do this work for you as well. You just have to do a little bit of research. Now, Courtney, for you, it sounds like you already did this math and found that you were consuming 30 to 40% of your calories from fat each day. Based on the AMDR that I just mentioned, this isn't much higher than what's recommended, 20 to 35% per day. You're getting 30 to 40. So on the surface, this doesn't appear to be concerning. But your question about types of fat is a good one. In fact, the AMDR's recommendation of 20 to 35% of our calories coming from fat each day doesn't specify types of fat. It just states total amount of fat you should consume. But total fat isn't necessarily as important as the types of fat people eat. Being a pescatarian, I can assume that Courtney is consuming mostly, quote, healthy fats. How do I know this? Fish is very low in what many call bad fats. These bad fats are saturated and trans fat. Both saturated and trans fat are considered bad fats because they've been linked with an increased risk for disease like heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and even some forms of cancer. Saturated fats are found in both plant and animal products, but are found in large quantities in meat. Trans fats are found in processed foods like boxed crackers, cookies, cakes, donuts, crescent rolls, and pies, for example. But the fats found in most fish are not saturated or trans fats. Instead, they're what we call polyunsaturated fats. These fats can include omega-3 fatty acids, for example. Omega-3 fatty acids actually promote health by preventing disease. So Courtney, even though you're getting more daily fat in your diet than what's recommended, it's good to know that it's likely healthy fat. But does eating too much healthy fat pose a problem? Most likely it's okay. You probably don't need to stress too much about it. The one thing I would caution is that even though you do get most of your fat from fish, it can still be stored as body fat pretty easily. The other issue is that many foods high in fat are also high in calories. So over time, it is possible for this to lead to weight gain. I should also mention that polyunsaturated fats, like omega-3s, are not the only healthy fats. Another healthy fat is monounsaturated fat. You'll find monounsaturated fat in olive oil, avocado, nuts and seeds. But again, this doesn't mean you should go out and eat lots of olive oil, avocado, nuts and seeds. But instead, it's a good idea to include these foods in your diet, in moderation, of course. I'll close by responding to your question about decreasing your fat intake to more closely meet the AMDR recommendations. I wouldn't stress too much about this unless one of these three things are happening to you. 1. When your doctor checks your blood cholesterol levels, you discover they're running high. Or 2. You're finding you're gaining weight and you didn't want to. Or 3. You're experiencing loose stools or diarrhea. If, on the other hand, you're feeling great and you're not experiencing one or more of these I just mentioned, I wouldn't worry about it. Thank you again for your question, Courtney. You'll be entered into very small raffles every month to win a book. And if you want to be a part of that, send me a question. Come by oldpodcast.com. There's a red bar along the side of the page you can click on and record right from your computer's microphone. It's really easy, and you can even play back your message and do retakes before sending it in. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way and call in. The number is 61 I love OHD. Either way works. That's another week of Optimal Health Daily in the books. Thank you for listening every day and all the way through. Thank you for sharing this show with a friend. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday, where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this show and Optimal Living Daily, the brother podcast of this one. Literally, I'm Dr. Neil's brother. If you like the format of this show, you'll love Optimal Living Daily too, where I also read to you from blogs, but cover other topics like personal development, finance, and minimalism from bloggers like Derek Sivers, The Minimalists, Zen Habits, and many more. So for more amazing content read to you for free, come subscribe to Optimal Living Daily too, and together we'll optimize your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Health Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com. That's oldpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.